Hello Purna.
Yeah,
This is a automation mock interview session on Tricentis TOSCA tool. So we'll get started with your introduction. Can you please introduce? I've captured some key details, but you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
yeah. Thank you, Abhi. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, my overall experience in the industry is 5 years, 1 year in TCS, and 4 years the present day with my present company. It's American. And for 2 years, I worked as a data analyst, where we work on our own application that is MAS. So that is an asset management it supports asset management companies, so deal with their financials and all those. And for the past years, I have been working in the QA department, and my responsibilities are manual testing and few uh, and little experience with automation testing. And
Okay.
coming to yeah.
Okay. Little bit disturbance is coming from your side. Can you try to manage that?
Is it okay now,
Yeah.
Abhi?
Yeah. Far better.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Fine. How about Tosca experience? Like, what have you gone through? What have you understood till now? So, I'll frame the questions accordingly.
Okay, fine. I've gone training on Tosca,
Okay.
and yeah, I have covered the test cases, modules, events, execution lists, and how to write test cases, how to deal with different kind of attributes, module attributes. All those I have been practicing,
Okay.
and I'm learning API testing on Tosca too.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So let's get started. Uh,
Mhm.
Tell me, in terms of identification methods,
Mhm.
which identification method is the least preferable one?
Least preferable one, yeah, it's by image, Abhi.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, because while identification by images, when we it is the Tosca find difficult to find this particular image while performing automation tests. So the
Okay.
most preferred one is properties, and not suggested as by Tosca. So also it's not it's by image.
Okay. So the answer is, have you heard about index?
Yeah,
Okay. So the index
yeah.
is the least preferable one. If you will even see in the tool, if you
Mm-hmm.
will identify by index, it will say use this method unless you are able to identify with any other method possible.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
And
It's Tosca.
yeah,
Why
images.
with? I mean, yeah, yeah. Please go ahead, Abhi. Yeah, please.
So image is also not preferred, but we go with image when we will have a situation in which we have no other way to proceed with. Why index is not preferred is because it's based on the coordinates, and it is not that stable. So so even Tosca recommends. Let me quickly show you here. So if I scan any page, so just scan one page and I'll take some sample application. If I fire up my scan, so this is by default taking the properties, but let me remove the properties. Uh, if I go to index, here see it mentions use the index only if you cannot choose any other identification criteria to uniquely identify the control. Any matching
Uh,
controls are constrained by previously defined criteria before the index is applied. So basically,
oh,
coordinates are not that stable. However, we use index as well in case none of the other identification method works. Uh,
Okay.
okay,
Okay. Got
okay.
it.
Uh, how about the action modes? What all action modes exist in Tosca?
Yeah, there are namely seven action modes in Tosca, Abhi.
Okay,
So that is input, insert, select, buffer, wait on, constraint.
okay,
These are action. Yeah.
okay. So what's the use of buffer? Can you explain that?
Yeah, buffer. Buffer is used for retrieving data that is stored at buffer values. So we will store the buffer values, which can be used for repeated tests at repeated tests. So that when we use buffer, that is used for retrieving data. So the syntax will be like b of the name of the buffer name. We use
You sure the syntax is correct?
Yes, Abhi. So
Uh,
no, curly braces first will be open curly braces and close curly braces, and inside that B of in square braces will insert the buffer name.
okay,
So for that we'll use a T-box set buffer module.
okay, okay. And let's say I want to create a buffer for one of the elements for which the property I have captured, and I want to create the buffer at that level. How would you do that?
Okay. Are you asking for dynamic buffers?
No, not dynamic buffers. So I don't want to use tbox set buffer. I want to create the
Okay.
buffer at the test case level. How would I do that?
Yeah, test case level. We use a T-box set buffer module.
Okay, so
Okay.
let me give you an example. So let's say this test case is there, okay, and
Yeah.
this open menu or any other element is there, okay. I want to capture
Mm-hmm.
the buffer here, and I don't want to use tbox set buffer. How would I do that?
You want to capture it?
Like whatever property it has identified with, I want to capture that in the buffer here.
Okay.
How would you do that?
Okay, so we will use. No, I only remember using dynamic buffers XB,
Okay,
and I'm not sure what
okay. So
this is.
tbox set buffer is you can use to create the name and create the buffer. However, let's say
Yes.
we have a scenario in which in the test case on some particular element, I want to capture the details from that particular element. So in that case, you can
Okay.
select the action mode buffer here, okay, and
Okay.
then just mention whatever name you want to mention here, okay. So buffer will be automatically created and the data will be saved in that, okay.
Okay. Okay. So not like dynamic buffers. This will be created instantly.
Yeah, yeah. So I have example here. So see here, I have captured one particular module, okay. In this particular
Okay.
module, this was one particular element, okay. So I have created,
Mm-hmm.
I'm using action mode buffer here, and whatever is the name of this particular property, that will be saved in this particular buffer. So it will be created as well as saved at the same time.
Okay. So we should enter the inner text or normal the name we need to give.
So here you can mention whatever you want. It depends on what
Okay.
kind of property this element is capturing. So if it
Okay.
has inner text, it has name, and in case you want to like modify this, you can modify this as well. Like for example,
Okay.
I can write here as dot name equal to. So
Mm-hmm.
what will happen is if the name property exists in this particular element, that is going to get assigned to this buffer, and I can
Okay.
use any other property as well.
Okay.
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 Uh,
Yeah.
Coming to the dynamic buffers, what you were talking about, XB.
Yeah.
In what cases the dynamic buffer is used?
So in what cases is we can say that if we have some text that is generated or to verify a text that is generated at some point of running of a test case.
Okay.
So for say that if a transaction is happening, so
Mm-hmm.
transaction ID is generated at some point of time. So this can't be stored. This can't be generated before running the test case. So this will be generated while running the test case. So while running the test case to capture the transaction ID, we will use dynamic buffers.
Okay. So, so the scenario what you're explaining right now, that can be
Hmm.
done with this buffer as well. Okay. So,
Okay.
so let's say a value is being generated, and I just want to capture that value without
Hmm.
using what the value is being generated using other properties. If I'm able to capture, then
Hmm.
I can buffer that value. Where dynamic buffer is used is when you want to capture a portion of a static value. So, for example, you are getting something displayed. Let me
Yes.
so if you're getting, like, let's say here it is coming accepted usernames and this part is changing all the time. Okay. However, this
Okay.
whole thing is part of one element. Okay.
Okay.
So I can write accepted usernames and then I can write curly brackets XP and then whatever the buffer name I want to do. So this keeps changing,
Hmm.
but this is static. In those cases,
Okay.
dynamic buffer is used.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. Uh, So tell me how like the password and all thing is protected in case of Tosca. Do you understand that? Like how it gets encrypted?
No, no, Abhi. Mm.
Okay. So so by default, Tosca tries to understand whatever is password. But let me show you one scenario here. So if I go to this, I should have something. Okay. So
I
basically,
think. Yeah.
I don't have the step here, but in case we want to, like, let's say whatever is there in this, okay, whatever I'm passing here. uh,
Hmm.
I'll just rename this and let's say I'm passing test here. Okay, I want this data to be protected. Okay, so I can just change the data type from here to password.
To that to password. Yeah.
Yeah,
That time it's yeah.
so the moment I change it to password, it will turn into asterisk, and
Yeah.
now I won't have the ability to, like, even if I copy, I won't be able to copy the actual text. Okay,
Okay.
and
Okay.
now I need to know the password to re-enter it. So first time when you'll enter, like, let's say I remove this and I enter like this, the moment I click out of it, it will turn asterisk. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
how the password is protected. So you can
Okay.
change the data type accordingly.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, uh, so you understand about uh, a library concept in Tosca? Do you understand that?
Yeah. Yeah. Libraries. Yeah. We libraries can be used to creation of RTVs.
Okay,
Okay, so RTVs are something set of steps or that are frequently occurring in our application. So if something has if we are having some n number of test cases which have some repeated number of test steps that are to be followed. So all these can be made into a single test case, and we can call it while for execution while running those test cases. Abhi.
okay, okay. So that is totally correct. Since you understand RTBs, can you explain me what is business parameter?
Yeah, business parameters are so while when when a tester is calling these RTBs,
Mhm.
some RTBs might require some external inputs. So if for suppose some page where some fields need inputs are to be converted into RTB, so all these fields can be given as uh, parameters. Okay, if not these parameters are not to no, for every test case the same values are to be passed. While creating the RTB itself, we can create the those val we can create this RTB with the values itself. If not, if the user wants to uh, enter his values at each and every time, so we can all those can be passed as business parameters, Abhi.
Okay, okay. So that is totally correct. We will use business parameters in RTBs wherever we want the facility to input the uh, enter
Value.
the value from our side. So yeah, that is correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, do you understand recovery scenarios?
Yeah, recovery scenarios I have a light because yeah, I have I have knowledge on that. Uh, those scenarios, recovery scenarios, are some things, are scenarios which are implemented when a particular when not particular when the test cases are failed. So recovery scenarios can be implemented at three levels: test step value, test step, and test case levels.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah. Yeah, we provide a set of instructions what to do if a test case is failed.
Okay.
So these are recovery scenarios.
Okay. How about cleanup scenarios?
Yeah, cleanup scenarios are come into picture when these recovery scenarios also fails.
Okay.
Yeah, so cleanup scenarios, I'm not unaware what steps will be included in cleanup scenarios, but in recovery scenarios, we can have a relaunching of application. All we can implement that.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So I'll just give you an idea about the cleanup scenario when that could be
Mm-hmm.
used. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
let's say uh, you have automated an end-to-end application in which at some particular page the refresh like the pages are not loaded and the application behavior is in a way that if you refresh it will work fine. Okay, and that is
Yes.
how your
Yeah.
page is designed. So you can use the recovery
Yeah.
scenario of refreshing your page. However,
Okay.
if your recovery scenario fails, what happens is there is a certain state in which the application goes, in which, like, if you have entered few data, that will be part of the cache or something on that particular page. It will appear even if you relog in. Okay. So for the
Yeah.
next test case to run efficiently, you need to reset, like you need to like probably clear all those things. Okay. So in that case,
Mm.
cleanup scenarios come into picture. So when all your recovery scenario fails,
Okay.
what it will do is it will reset your application, and then when next time it is executed, your execution works fine.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about weights. Like, what kind of weights exist in Tosca, and how do we use them?
Yeah, weights. We have two inbuilt things. One is uh, sorry,
Okay.
synchronous wait on.
Okay.
Sorry, synchronous timeout and synchronous timeout during wait on. That is one thing, and
Okay.
we can also specify for a attribute. Okay, like just a minute.
Yeah. Take your
For
time. Take your
a
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We have for attribute also we can specify that wait before, wait after for attributes in its steering parameter values. We can define those, and we have the inbuilt module that is tbox weight. So we have these things, and so these are all the weight that are existing in Tosca.
Okay. So what you're saying is right. However, when someone asks you what kind of weights exist in Tosca, so there would be, we can answer in this way that there is a static weight and a dynamic weight. Okay. Now,
Okay.
you can set the synchronization, and all those are part of the project settings. And how you set the static weight with tbox static weight, and dynamic using the wait on command, right?
Yes.
Okay. So given a condition, dynamic weights are always preferred, right, in terms of static weight. Can you tell me the reason why that is?
Why? Because static weights, when we use static weights, the application, the Tosca waits for that particular amount of time, even though the our required page or required attribute is loaded. Okay, but
Okay.
when coming to the dynamic weights, if the attribute is loaded, then it's continues with its next step.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So that is totally correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Coming to advantages of Tosca, like for example, if let's say you go to a project where they are just trying to understand that if they want to implement Tosca or not. Okay, and since you have knowledge on Tosca, what are the key advantages you will highlight them, or tell the advantages which would be better than their current suit with your knowledge? Like, what all facilities at a higher level Tosca provides, which is better than other test automation tools?
Yeah, when other automation tools, basically the comparison comes with Selenium itself.
Okay.
Okay. So for Selenium, we have to design the total framework. Uh, okay, the test designers also must have a good knowledge on Java, its oops concepts and each and everything. Okay, but when working with Tosca, all these are not necessary. So only the knowledge on Tosca would be much sufficient. And also while working in Selenium, there are much the need of external integrations of applications are necessary.
Mhm.
And for Tosca, that's not, because Tosca provides all, each and every essential feature that needs for a automation of web application, desktop application, mobile application, command interfaces. Okay,
Okay.
so all these can be automated using Tosca. So and the time also, and the time, if they are, if if the team is automating an application, so automating an application, they need to have complete knowledge on okay, each and every frameworks that are in Selenium, because we have different kind of frameworks like keyword, data driven, and all those. So they need to know which will be better. And when coming to Tosca, we can start, if you know the tool. Basically, we can start writing the test cases, and while writing, we will have advanced, we will come in, we will get into some new scenarios where we can learn more about Tosca. And we have we can say specified support. Okay, we have specified support, so we and specified documentation where we can go through and have much, and we can get whatever we need. And uh, and we will and while working in Selenium, if you want to run a specific for a specific test step, it's not possible. But in Tosca, we have scratch books, and when you run if you want to run a specific test case or test step, we can use scratch book. And using that scratch book, we can if, the test step can be executed on the enabled application. All these are
Okay. Okay.
advantages of Tosca.
So that is good. You have covered few pointers. However, there
Yeah.
are a lot of other pointers which you can highlight. For example,
Okay.
you have a good option of remote testing here. You can integrate it to the CI/CD tools, and
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like getting the properties of the elements and the
Mm-hmm.
identification methods, it is very easier here. But yeah, majority of the thing is you have dedicated support which you have already covered, and the programming language and all. But do read more on
Mm-hmm.
the advantages, what all advantages does Tosca offer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go through some scenario questions. So let's say okay, I'll talk about what kind of looping statements exist in Tosca.
Yeah, we have if else, do while do. All these are looping statements in Tosca.
Okay, okay. Now let's say let me switch back to Tosca. Okay. So let's say I have this particular test case created. Okay. And I move this particular test case to execution. Uh, I want this test case to be repeated 5 times. Okay. Uh, is there a easy way to do that? Like, how would you do that?
Yeah, we have a repetition attribute, right, Avi?
Yeah.
So we can input the number of times the test case we can to be run.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
I, yeah.
Yeah, that is correct. Okay. So let's say I want to in this particular page, this particular application, let's say in case of username I want to enter some random value uh, every time whenever I like run my test script, I want to enter some random value in username. uh,
Mm-hmm.
how can I do that using Tosca?
Yeah, we have this function called random rnd. So using that, we for numerics we can use rnd.
Okay.
And for characters we have a random text.
Okay.
Okay, random text inputs us with the alpha. It's like alphanumeric. It inputs with text and numbers. And if you want only characters, we will write regular expressions like so. Regular expression, random text. So we'll input the regular expression for capital what alphabets, capitals A to Z, all those, and we'll specify the number of characters that are also to be inputted as limit to the username. So it generates the number of it generates the username at that point of execution.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Uh, Move to the next question. Let's say I want to validate if a certain file exists on my system or not. What module would I use for that?
Certain file exists in our system.
Yeah.
Okay.
In your machine, there is a certain file at a particular location. I want to validate if that file exists in that folder or not. How can you do that? That's okay in case you don't
No,
know that. So
T-box, can we use T-box evaluation for that?
no, we have
Okay.
tbox file existence for that. So
File. Okay.
that is part of standard modules. It should be somewhere
Okay.
here. So we can use tbox file extension in which we can mention the directory and the file path.
Okay. T-box file existence.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
this check the no, T-box existence just checks if the file exists or not. That's it. No
correct,
other functions.
correct, correct,
Okay,
correct.
fine. Yeah.
In case I want to send keyboard commands, how do I do that?
Yeah, also all the keyboard commands we have functions for all the keyboard commands. Either enter, shift, or control. All this we have all the commands. If you want to, if sometimes if it doesn't work, we can use send keys function, and after that we can enter the functions that we need to enter in the input in the input values section.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
perfect. Okay, so you were talking about test events at the start. What does test event mean in Tosca?
Test events. No, Abhi. I learn, but I'm
Okay,
not sure.
no worries. You know about decks in Tosca?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you please explain? What do you know?
Yeah. DEX are remote systems that are used for running all the test cases designed and implemented at remote systems.
So what do you mean by that? Like, what purpose does it serve?
What purpose?
Like, why is decks used?
These are no. These are virtual machines, Abhi.
Okay,
So, to not get interrupted with any manual inputs or manual interruptions for the test cases, we run our test cases. So when if you start running, if you start running and running, the expressions takes care of everything. So the manual interference is much lesser. So if we run at some at any time we need, it takes care of all the executions. If we need, we can run at a night, and if we can come in the morning and check the status of the test cases, Abhi.
okay, okay. So you have the right. You're going on the right path. However, to explain this little bit better is there would be need in which your automation suite is bigger and you have to achieve faster executions. In that case, remote executions come into picture. Okay, so you can run them
Mhm.
24 cross 7.
Yes.
However, in case you want to tell what to be executed, for that you need to do a certain setup. Now that setup is provided by Tricentis, which is called as DEX, Distributed Execution Server. So you have to set up Tosca server first, and you have to specify all the details, like what all which, like your machine configurations, and there are a lot of things which goes inside that for you to set that up. But once you have set that up, you will set up your execution list, and the 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 test scripts which are part of your execution list will be executed on different machines, and you'll be able to achieve a faster execution, and you'll be able to release your products quickly. So when you do execution using Dex server, this is what the purpose is, that you achieve faster execution, and you can run it as many times as you want. You can run it 24 cross 7 cross 365 whenever the need is. Now, in order to set that up, there are few configurations required even in the execution list. So if you will just run your test cases in the execution list, that is not going to work. So you have to create a test configuration. Okay. So if I go to execution, here you will be creating a test event. Okay. Why that is separate from this? Because the test event is going to contain the details of the configuration as to what machines are there, and do the connection between Tosca and Tosca server, and then do your execution accordingly. I hope that was clear.
Yeah, yeah, that was clear, Ravi. Yeah.
Okay, okay, perfect. So, how about Tosca CI? Have you heard about that?
Tosca,
S-
command.
Yeah, CI, Tosca CI.
Okay, continuous. Yeah, continue. You're asking continuous integration. No, no, Abhi. No,
Okay,
no idea.
okay. So that is going to achieve the similar thing what we were talking about, Dex server. It's just that in case of Tosca CI, it provides an interface which helps Tosca to communicate using the CI/CD tools. So in majority of the projects, CI/CD tools are implemented, right? So you can use
Mm-hmm.
any of the standard tools like Azure, AWS, and all these things are there, right? So you can
Mm-hmm.
create your pipeline accordingly, and you can do the remote execution, and on whichever machine you are executing that, you can use Tosca CI interface to communicate the task what you're sending from your local machine, and it'll do the executions on those machine. So in those cases, you can skip the Dex server and you can use the build tools to do your execution.
Oh, okay. So the Dex machines will not be necessary.
So the Dex setup would not be necessary. So
Setup.
so the virtual machines are virtual machines. In
Mm-hmm.
case of like in terms of the nomenclature perspective, Tosca call those as agent machines, right? Or if you are
Yeah.
calling those as Dex machine, or essentially those are virtual machines. Let's say we do not want to set up the Dex server, and we already have an infrastructure in which everything is being taken care by the build tools. In those cases, you can use the Tosca CI feature to interact.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, we'll talk about. So you have worked on API testing as well, right?
No, no, I haven't worked on IP testing. I'm going through that
Okay.
actually.
Okay. So we can skip that. How about requirements? Do you understand how do you manage requirements in Tosca?
No, but I have a light information on that, but not much information. So requirements are something that the stakeholders are they provide what kind of requirements they require for the application. So
Okay.
we design test cases to meet those requirements. Okay, so we can input if you are designing a test cases for meeting those requirements, and we'll update if these requirements are met or not. Is it?
Yeah. So that is how the project goes. But have you ever created a requirement traceability matrix?
No, no, Abhi, but I have a yeah RTM traceability matrix. Yeah, I have so this little idea on that, but not
Okay.
much of it.
Okay.
Okay, so it is so it's like same as I explained. It's for tracing. It's for tracking the whole progress of all the testing cases. How many have we covered? All those, right?
Okay. Okay, so let me
what
give you
status.
a quick
Yeah.
idea. So basically what happens is, let's say you have five requirements, okay, and for the, or let's say we'll take just two requirements are there, okay. For first requirement you have created five test cases, and let's say for the second requirement you have created 10 test cases, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
in the first requirement, if all the five test cases are passed, that means your
Yeah.
requirement is covered, right?
Yeah.
And in case of second test case, let's say your seven test cases pass, but three are having an active bug. Okay. So that particular requirement is not covered, right? In terms of
Mm-hmm.
test coverage is not there. And team is actively working on fixing those bugs. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
you create a documentation in which you will have your requirements, which will tell that what all test scripts are covering that. Okay. Now there could be different approaches taken to that in terms of what kind of project you're working on. Like basically requirements can be broken down into test scenarios, and test scenarios could be broken down into test scripts, but it depends
Mm-hmm.
however you want to set that up. But on a higher level, if one requirement is there, what all test cases relate to that. So when the production time comes near, it will be easy for us to track to see, okay, our five requirements work fine, but three are having active issues. We'll see if we'll be able to release the product using five requirements or not, or we'll be able to make an active decision. So that's why RTM is created. Okay. Now like that particular feature also exists in Tosca. So here you will have the requirement section where you can mention all those things, and you can uh, integrate this with your test cases. Okay. So
Okay.
like let's say a business person comes, your product owner comes, and they just want to take a look at this. Okay. So this will give them a clear idea as to how the testing is progressing, what are the key areas to focus on, how many requirements are covered, and how can I like manage my project accordingly. So it is very helpful here. And just read about this. They have a, like there is a concept of Pareto principle is there, in which like the test executions what we perform, uh, it says that 20% of the defects comes, like 80% of the issues comes from the 20% of the application. Okay. So
Okay.
there is a way to maximize the test coverage by reducing the execution. So let's say I have
Okay.
1,000 test cases, but if there is a smart way to tell that, okay, execute your 100 test cases repeatedly, while don't focus on the remaining 900 that much in terms of passes. Okay. So what that would do is that will actually cover more in terms of my application. Okay. So that is what it is
Yeah.
based on. It has few things called frequency class, damage class, and all. So we mention all these details with the help of like product owner to understand, and once you work in the project, even you get an idea and you take team's perspective. So this will
Mm-hmm.
help a lot in terms of achieving a common goal of making your product live.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways, read about that. Uh, we'll talk
Requirements.
about test case design now. So do you know why test case design is used?
Test case design is used for creating test sheets that can be used for entering data at instances level. So, or right. So if we need some set of yeah, username and passwords. Okay, so we can make a test sheets with all the instances and attributes, and while running the test cases, we can integrate this and use these username and passwords for running the test cases.
Okay. So, in case of reusable test step blocks, we were talking about username and password, right? There we can
Yes.
pass it as an input parameter. Now, what would be the key difference between like reusable test step block and test case design? Because what you're explaining kind of uh, is the same scenario, right?
Okay. 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 Mhm.
If you're not clear, you feel free to tell me. I'll explain you.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can explain, Nati. You can
Sure,
explain.
sure. So basically, reusable test step block is, you understand that correctly. Like it is used for reusability wherever the actions are like in your test scripts, the similar actions are being repeated, and you want to pass few input parameters you can use as a business parameter. However, test
Mm-hmm.
case design comes into picture when, based on the data input, your test case uh, changes. So, for example, based on uh, based on the user login, okay, the the behavior is going to be different. Like I need to cover, like, probably, let's say, 30 different username and password, and validate that logging with all those 30 username and password, I'm going to get a login page in which a certain element is going to appear. Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
in actual scenario, if I'm creating the test cases, I have to create all those 50 test cases. I can create a test case and I can copy and I can change the input parameters, because here in this case the username and password is not going to change. That is going to be one test case. Okay. So that is basically data driven testing. Based on data, your testing is working, right? So what you would
Mm-hmm.
do is, you will create the data parameters in test cases, in test case design section. Okay. And in case of test cases, you will create a template. Why a
Yeah.
template is required? Because we are going to link the template with the test case design. Why it is called template is because whenever, like, let's say, I want to send a certain status report email to client, right? And that is going to be repeated n number of times. But if we can create a template, everyone can reuse that. So that's the same concept here. That's why it is called as template. Now, template will be linked with the test case design. That is the first step. And then you will do the instantiation. Once you instantiate, based on the number of data input parameters, those many instances are going to get created. So since we were talking, like, there could be 50 username and password, so 50 test cases will be generated. Now that will
Yeah.
make our job of creating our test cases very easily. And even in future cases, let's say you have to update the third username and password, you can just go to the test case design and you can update uh, the data parameter, and it will be very efficiently you can manage that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Got
Okay.
it.
So do you understand the check-in check-out concept in case of Tosca? When is that used?
Yes, chicken checkouts. Yeah, it's basically like blocking a test case that if you are testing or if you are working on a test case, so to okay, it's like a red flag. So I am working on this, so please do not so, if an user sorry, if a person is working on a particular test case,
Mhm.
he checks out, and no other no other user will be able to make modifications to that particular test case. So, that particular test match at left side. So, if some other user wants to make changes, he asks the user to check in and that. So even if he checks in, the test case will not be automatically updated to its current status. So
Okay.
we'll update it.
Okay. So the concept what you're telling is absolutely right. So basically,
Mm,
when you work in the projects, you will have multiple people working on the same workspace. So in those cases, just that two people are not working on the same thing and updating at the same time, we have the check-in check-out concept. So wherever you want
okay.
to work on something, you check out, so that will not enable any other user to work on the same module, and they would
Okay.
understand that you are working on that. And once you have performed all your work, you can click on check in on, so it will be available to everyone else.
Okay. Can we check in and check out at module level too? Because I'm only aware of the test
you
case level.
you can
Like,
you can check in check out at whatever level you want. Okay, so I can
okay.
check out at the global module level as well. It will depend on the
Oh,
permissions what have been given to you. Okay.
okay.
So
Okay.
basically how how the architect set it up is in terms of permissions. Like let's say for your project you have created a global library kind of thing. Okay, so they will not allow anyone to do changes in that. So you will be able to copy and paste in your test scripts. However, you won't be able to edit those. So it will depend on what kind of permissions you have been provided. You can actually check out the entire project altogether as well. So you have the ability to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, so when you click on a certain button, you have this option called click, right? Uh,
Yes.
while you would have seen that people use X as well, right? X or
Yes.
click. So what is the
Yes.
preferred method and why?
Okay. For buttons, we the preferred method is click, and for attributes that are hyperlinked, we use X. Okay, so these are the standard things that are used. So if you are clicking on an hyperlink, we use X as a method, and for buttons, we use click.
Okay. So that is not correct. Basically, X when you use click, uh, it depends. Like you can use click as well. You can use X as well. It depends on what kind
Yeah.
of property you are dealing with. Okay. But
Okay.
using X is always going to be more efficient because in case of operations like click, it mimics the mouse operations. Okay, the way you handle it, like if I move the mouse here and then click on something, right? So when we use X, it actually performs that action. It does not do this thing. So this is always faster, and this is what the preferred method is. However,
Okay.
you
So
go ahead.
yeah, please, please.
So basically X is preferred over input. Okay, over performing an action over click. But you can use both the methods, and you will find once you'll work on more different applications, you will find that there could be cases in which X is working but the click is not. So this is preferred in terms of execution as well.
Okay. Okay. So, no. Okay. My trainer suggested that we will be using X for hyperlinks and click for buttons. So yeah,
See, you can
that's great.
always use click for buttons as well, but it will depend on application to application as well, right? So if the application is pretty stable, okay. So how it is designed is like this is a button, right? So this is how it is mentioned in your HTML DOM structure, right? Let's say the naming convention, the type, and all those things are not defined correctly. So even Tricentis recommends to use X. Well, you feel free to use click as well, but
Okay.
that
Okay.
is how it works. Okay. Now,
Okay.
how about test configuration parameters? Like, what exactly is test configuration parameter?
Yeah, test configuration parameters are something that are static throughout the application. So we can uh, okay, if we can define them, and while defining them, so we can say that something like if the username and password which is used at different test cases level and it is static for the whole application,
Okay.
we can define them at test configuration parameters. And test configuration parameters, we can also define our launching of browsers. So, okay, opening URLs, all those we can define at test configuration levels. Abhi.
Okay.
And for calling these test configuration parameters, the syntax is like in open curly braces, CP of uh, parameter name.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So that is also correct. Uh, I think we can wrap up the session now. In case you have any other questions.
Yeah. Can you tell me that explicit name? What is explicit name? We have something like I was asked this question in an interview,
Explicit name.
but I
Okay.
was yeah.
So basically, I have to create a script entirely for that. So basically, it gives
Oh,
you the ability to uh, rename rename the details. So it would take some time. I will. What I'll do is let me ping you after this, or probably I'll create a
mhm.
video on the explicit name. because I
Okay.
have heard about that a lot. So I'm
Okay.
getting questions on that. So I'll explain you that.
Okay. Fine, Abhi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Uh, I'll take that as notes and I'll cover the explicit name probably in a video, or I'll let you know how that works. Uh, any
Mhm.
any other questions or feedback?
No, no feedback is not. Questions. We have constraint index and constraint, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Two are different things. So what are the differentiations between this constraint index and constraint?
So basically, you're using when you're using a scenario like, for example, when let's say I have the same page launched twice. Okay, so what happens is
Mm-hmm.
uh, this is launched again. Okay. So what happens is on this particular page, when you run your execution, it will see the same title. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
and it will not be able to identify it, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
what happens is for this particular for this particular page, there'll be a index which will be set. Okay, so let's say this is one, this is two, this could also be one, and this could be two. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that's how the
Mm-hmm.
system defines it. Okay, so
Okay.
in these type of cases, you will use constraint index equal to 1 or equal to 2 to tell Tosca where to perform the action. Otherwise, if you will
Okay.
execute the script without that, what it will do is it will come on this particular page and it will get confused as to there are two same elements exist, similar things exist. Where do I perform my action? Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
in case of constraint, okay, so basically constraint is something, as the word defines it, I am putting a restriction. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
like if I'm telling you that you can go to these four rooms only. Okay, or the rooms are like there are, let's say, 10 rooms in a hotel, but I am restricting you to go into either in room 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, so that is what is called constraint. Okay,
Okay.
now using constraint, we can uh, we can search something and specify the search criteria. Okay, so I'm telling in a practical example. Now, similar
Yeah.
thing you can replicate in terms of automation application as well, right? So if a particular element is identified, I want to search in this particular item only. Okay, so your search
Okay.
criteria is limited. So let's say you have a
Uh-huh.
table. Same concept you can
Okay.
understand the hotels example I was telling in terms of tables. Okay, so you have 10 rows, but I am telling that you can only access 4 rows and search in that. So I can put the
Oh,
constraint whichever position I want.
yes. Yes.
Okay, maybe try your constraint uh, with a few of the examples, a few of the web tables and all. That will give you a better
Mm-hmm.
idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm actually right now creating a course as well, in which I'm going to cover like most of the parts of Tosca end to end,
Mm-hmm.
a longer course. So maybe you can check
Mm-hmm.
out that as well.
Okay. Sure. Sure.
But yeah, that's a little complex concept. uh, you can read about it and then just try to work, but basically it limits your search, the constraint, and the constraint index, whenever indexing is there, that will point you to the right direction.
Okay. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot for your time, and it was nice conversing with you.
Yeah. It was nice for me to. It was so insightful on Tosca.
Yeah, sure, sure. Let me know how
Yeah.
all your interviews goes. And
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
okay, thanks a lot. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye. So guys, I'm going to launch a full course video as I was talking earlier. So you can check out that as well. That most probably I'll be launching it in the next weekend. And have a great day. And in case you're interested for a similar session, do let me know. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye bye.